If you're looking for a winter quilt that's not too Christmassy, this quilt is the one. Thicket is inspired by pine trees and cozy winter vibes. All you need is a jelly roll, so let's get started. Download your free Thicket pattern, only available at Back Quarter Shop, and let's look at our fabric requirements. You need a jelly roll or at least 30 2.5-inch strips, 2 yards of a background, 1 5/8 yards for your border and sashing, 5/8 yard binding, and 3 7/8 yard backing. So once you have everything together, now we can start sewing our quilt. This collection here that we're using today is Pine Valley by Basic Gray, and you'll probably recognize this print. It's a grunge print that's SKU 30150-101, and it's our top selling grunge at Back Quarter Shop. So before you start, I wanted to let you know you can start your jelly roll if you're interested in doing that, because when you start your jelly roll, your width will stay the same, your length will shrink, but there's plenty of fabric for this pattern. And before we get into the pattern, I wanted to explain the assembly. The way we wrote this pattern is all of our left trees will be done first, then we'll do all of the center trees, then we will do the right. But it is assembled in a row formation rather than a block formation, and what that gives you is less lines right here and you get more of a smooth transition. So at first it's probably going to confuse you, but when your quilt is done, you're going to see how beautiful it is and why we wrote our pattern that way. We're going to start with our fabric D square and our fabric M square. Now you can see on your fabric D, you're going to have straight lines all the way around because you cut this out as a square. Since you cut the fabric M from a jelly roll, you're going to have the pinked edges. So you're going to treat the very edge of the pink as the edge of the fabric. You're going to put the fabrics right sides together, and you'll want to be careful because grunge does have a right and wrong side. Once you get those right sides together, draw a line from corner to corner. And this time we're making our half square triangles different, and the reason why is because we're cutting from a jelly roll. Then you're going to trim a 1/4 inch away from the line, and this side you're going to discard. Then you're going to take your half square triangle, open it, press to the green. You're going to make 12 total. 6 you're going to use for the left trees, and then the remaining 6 we're going to hold until later for your right trees. Now we're going to move down the tree. We're going to take a fabric L and a fabric D. Again, right sides together, so on the wrong side of another fabric D, you're going to draw a line from corner to corner. Place this just like this. So you want to make sure your line is going this way. You're going to stitch directly on that line, press towards the white, and you're going to make 6 of these. Then we're going to be doing the same thing. Fabric K, fabric D, draw a line on the wrong side. And really what's great about the Back Quarter Shop patterns is you really don't even have to read. You can just follow your diagrams. And again, you're going to place it just like this with the direction going this way. Stitch on the line, press towards your white. Your biggest piece is your fabric J. You're going to take another fabric D, draw a line from corner to corner, place that on your fabric J, stitch on your line, and you're going to have this. You're going to have 6 of these. So the way it's going to look for later in the quilt is you can see how you have built your left tree unit, which goes on the left side of your quilt. So once you put these together, you can see how this is forming. And like I said, we're making rows and not blocks and not units. So you can just kind of see how this is coming together. Now we're going to move to the trees that make up most of the quilt, which is the center of your quilt. You're going to take a fabric H rectangle. All of your fabric Ds, you're going to draw a line on the wrong side of all of those. So I'm going to put this right sides together, follow this, stitch directly on the line, trim a 1/4 inch away, and press. Once that's done, you're going to add to the other side. Use pins and you'll get better results. Stitch directly on the line, trim a 1/4 inch away, and you're going to get your first tree unit. Then you're going to be doing that same method that we've been doing with your fabric Gs, and then you're going to add your Ds. Basically, this quilt is all corner square triangles, basically. Stitch directly on that line, and you get this unit. Then you're going to take your fabric F, add your fabric Ds. You're going to get your third tree unit. And then you're gonna take your fabric E, add your fabric Ds, and then you get this. So you're gonna make a total of 24 of each of these because you're gonna have a total of 24 trees in the center of your quilt. Now we're gonna move to the right side of the quilt. We're gonna take a fabric L rectangle, a fabric D square, place it just like this, stitch directly on the line, and trim. You're gonna make 6 of these. Then you're gonna use a fabric K. Again, fabric D on the left end, stitch on the line, and you have this. Then you take your fabric J, add your fabric D, stitch on the line, and you have this. And you're gonna make 6 of each of these, and you're gonna use your leftover half square triangles from your very first step. Then when you go to page 4, you're gonna see how we assemble this into rows, and you can see here where you're gonna have nice, really clean lines, whereas if you did a block, you would have extra lines there. So your quilt's gonna come out a little bit prettier. It's just assembled a little bit differently. So the first thing you're gonna do is we're gonna make our first row. That's gonna have 2 half square triangles, 4 flying geese, and 5 fabric A rectangles. You're gonna make 6 of those. Then I'm gonna lay out our second row. So I've laid out our second row, and you can see how we're keeping all of the same fabrics together, and that's how you're matching your trees. Again, you're gonna make 6 of these, then I'm gonna lay out my third row. So now we have row 3 done, and you can see row 1 uses fabric A rectangles, row 2 uses fabric B rectangles, row 3 uses fabric C rectangles. We're keeping all our fabrics together. You're gonna be using 1/4-inch seams, and make sure you press according to the pattern because that's gonna make your entire quilt rows all nest together really nicely. Now I'm gonna lay out row 4. So now we have row 4 laid out, and I also wanted to mention when you were making all of these units, if you press the correct way, everything will nest. And if you didn't want to worry about everything nesting, you could press open, but I think with this pattern, pressing to one side is totally fine. And the 4th row doesn't use anything except the units, no rectangles or squares, and then our bottom is going to be our tree trunks. That's going to be row 5. So now we've added our 5th row that has fabric ends on the left and right side, and then fabrics I and O in the center. That's going to give you 6 Thicket rows that look just like this. And what I wanted to say is because we used a jelly roll, we used the trunks to be the same fabric as the trees. You could always just get one accent fabric and turn your trunks into a different color if you wanted to change the quilt a little bit. Now you can see how the rows look when they're put together, and this is the row that we built, and then you're just going to continue and keep building. Another thing to think about, you could make this quilt totally scrappy with just leftover 2.5-inch strips. You could make this entire quilt scrappy if you didn't want to use one jelly roll from one designer. And that's our Thicket quilt, which is a completely free downloadable pattern at Fat Quarter Shop. And if you want another quilt with a similar vibe, we have the Through the Woods pattern also. I would love for you to subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you every Friday on my weekly live streams. See you there.